I keep staring at this notebook. Pages of names and amounts written in her handwriting. My name at the top, Robert, 820,000 pesos. 3 other names below mine, all of us funding the same dream, the same lie. I'm Robert, 61 years old, retired accountant from Southampton, and I just found out the woman I fell in love with has been running the same investment scheme on 4 different men simultaneously. The worst part, I actually believed I'd protected myself. I had contracts, legal agreements, a 40% ownership stake properly documented by a lawyer I hired myself. Turns out contracts are worthless when your partner designs the entire business to be a vehicle for theft. I need to write this down, need to get it out before I do something I'll regret. My hands are becoming more unstable as I look at the numbers. £62,000. That's what this cost me over 2 years. Gone, everything. But to understand how I got here, I need to start from the beginning. It all started when my late wife Margaret died in March, 2.5 years back. Cancer. We'd been married 31 years, no children. The house in Southampton felt too big after she was gone. Every room had memories. Her reading chair by the window, the kitchen where she'd bake on Sundays, the garden she'd spent hours tending. I was 57, retired on a decent pension, £2,400 monthly, plus we'd sold our London flat years ago, and had £195,000 in savings. Comfortable by any measure. But what's the point of comfort when you're eating dinner alone every night? My brother suggested I travel. Get out of that house, Robert. See somewhere new. I'd never been one for holidays. Margaret had wanted to travel more, but I'd always said we'd do it after retirement. Then she got sick, and retirement became hospital visits and chemo appointments and watching her fade. Now she was gone, and I had all the time in the world. Nowhere to be. Nothing to do. A colleague at my old firm had retired to Cebu years ago, sent me an email saying I should visit. Decent place, English speaking, not as mad as Thailand. I booked a month. January, escaped the British winter. Just to see. Cebu hit differently than I expected. The chaos, traffic, noise, heat should have overwhelmed me. But there was energy there. People actually smiled at strangers, helped you when you looked lost. Everything was cheaper than I'd imagined. A full meal for £3, a beer for 70 pence. I stayed at a mid-range hotel in Mango Avenue. Spent days walking around trying restaurants, adjusting to the climate. Evenings I'd have a beer or two at this bar called Blue Orchid. Live music, decent food, not seedy, just a normal bar where expats and locals mixed. That's where Carmen worked. She was 34, served tables and sang occasionally. Pretty, but that's not what caught my attention. It was how she moved through the room. Professional, warm with customers, but not flirty. Genuine when she smiled. 4th night there, she sat with me during her break. We talked about normal things. Weather, food, adjusting to Cebu. She asked where I was from, what brought me here. I mentioned being widowed. I'm sorry, she said. Actually meant it, I could tell. How long? 10 months. That's hard. Being alone. It is. We talked more that night than I'd talked to anyone in months. She told me about growing up in Bohol, moving to Cebu for work, how she'd studied tourism in college but couldn't find good jobs in her field. Bar work paid better than retail or call centres. I came back to Blue Orchid the next night, and the night after, started timing visits for when Carmen was working. She'd sit with me on breaks, we'd talk about her family, my life in the UK, Margaret, normal human conversation. Last night before I flew home, she asked if I'd come back. I'd like to see you again, she said, not just as a customer. As, maybe friends, or more. I booked my return flight before I even landed in London. 3 months later, I was back in Cebu for 6 weeks. Carmen and I saw each other properly this time. She'd finish her midnight shift, we'd grab late food, walk along the waterfront talking for hours. Her days off, she showed me around. Tops for the city view, local markets, her favourite cheap spots tourists never found. I fell for her. Not because I was desperate, though I probably was. Not because she was young and pretty, though she was. But because she made me feel like myself again. Not just widower Robert or retired Robert, just Robert. She listened when I talked about Margaret, really listened, didn't get uncomfortable or jealous. Made me laugh. Took interest in my stories about accounting, which no one ever does. 8 weeks in, over dinner at a quiet restaurant in Lahug, we talked about her work. I hate it, she said. Not the singing, I love that part, but the rest. Drunk customers who think I'm available because I work at a bar. The late nights, smiling when men cross lines. Why not leave? Leave to where? I make 18,000 pesos base, plus maybe 10,000 pesos in tips on good months. Can't get that anywhere else without a degree I can't afford. That's about £400 monthly. She supported herself and sent money home to her mother. What would you rather do? Her face changed, lit up in a way I hadn't seen. Open a small cafe. Nothing fancy, just good coffee, breakfast food, maybe karaoke evenings. Somewhere locals actually want to hang out. Why don't you? She laughed, bitter. You know what that costs? Business permits alone are 60,000 to 70,000 pesos. Then there's rent, equipment, inventory. I'd need 450,000 pesos minimum just to open something basic. That's 7 years of saving every peso. Back at my hotel that night, I sat with a calculator in my bank statements. £195,000 in savings. Pension covering my UK expenses even if I wasn't there. The house was paid off, just utilities and council tax. If I moved to Cebu permanently, I'd actually save money compared to Southampton. And I could help Carmen, not just with money. I'd been an accountant for 35 years, knew business management, proper bookkeeping, financial planning. I could help her build something real, but that's not why I decided. The truth is, I loved her. Wanted a reason to stay. Wanted to build a life that felt like living, not just marking time until I joined Margaret. 2 days later, I told Carmen I wanted to invest in her cafe. Properly, as a business partner. I can't let you do that, she said. We were at her apartment. One room she shared with another bar worker, 2 mattresses on the floor, hot plate in the corner. She'd cooked pancit for us. You're not letting me. I'm offering. I'm an accountant. I know business setup, bookkeeping, proper management. You know hospitality, what Cebuanos want. Together we could actually do this right. How much would you put in? Whatever it takes, 500,000 pesos, 600,000 pesos, we'll budget it properly. That's too much. It's an investment. We'll set it up legally, proper partnership. I'll own 40%. That's the maximum for foreigners. You'll own 60% as managing partner. Everything documented, professional, lawyers, contracts, the whole thing. She went quiet. When she looked up, her eyes were wet. You'd really do that? Make it official, legal? Of course. I'm not just throwing money at this. I want us to do it right. Protect both of us. Build something real. She kissed me then. When we pulled apart, she was crying. When do we start? I went back to Southampton, sorted my affairs, told my brother I was moving to the Philippines. You barely know this woman. I know enough, and I'm doing this properly. Legal partnership, contracts, everything documented. I even secured my SRRV, so my stay is permanent. She works in a bar, Robert. She won't for much longer. And I'm protecting my investment. I've hired a lawyer. He still thought I was having a crisis. Maybe I was. But I felt confident. I wasn't some naive fool. I was setting this up the right way. 12 weeks later, I landed in Cebu with a plan and £35,000 transferred to my Philippine bank account, roughly 2.4 million pesos to start. The rest would stay in the UK for safety. Carmen had given notice at Blue Orchid. 1 month left, then she was done. We were really doing this, but first, the legal work. I found a lawyer through Expat recommendations, not Carmen's suggestion, not a family friend. A proper law firm in Cebu City, Filipino-British lawyer, who specialized in foreign business investments. First consultation, I laid out what I wanted. I'm investing 600,000 to 800,000 pesos in a cafe business with my partner. I want 40% ownership. I know the foreign ownership limits. She'll own 60% and manage operations. But I want legal protection, contracts, everything documented. Miguel nodded. Smart. Most foreigners don't bother with contracts in relationships. Then they lose everything. I've been an accountant for 35 years. I don't do anything without documentation. Good. Here's what we'll draft. Partnership agreement. Clear ownership stakes. You, 40%, her, 60%. Your capital contribution documented. Profit sharing agreement. You receive 40% of net profits quarterly. Management structure. She's managing partner, handles day-to-day operations. But major expenditures over 50,000 pesos require your approval. Financial transparency, monthly financial statements. You have right to audit books anytime. Dissolution clause. If partnership dissolves, assets liquidated and divided according to ownership percentages. What about her controlling operations? Can she drain money through the business itself? Miguel paused. That's harder to prevent. As managing partner with 60% ownership, she has authority over hiring, suppliers, pricing, daily expenses. We can add provisions requiring your approval for certain expenses, but day-to-day operations are typically her domain. Can we cap her salary? Set limits on vendor contracts? We can suggest reasonable limits in the contract, but ultimately, as majority owner and managing partner, she has significant latitude. That's the nature of a 60-40 partnership structure. I should have caught that. Should have realized what significant latitude meant, but I didn't. Because I loved her. Because I wanted to believe we were building this together. Fine. Draft the contracts. Make them as protective as possible. I will. But Robert, no contract can protect you from a partner who operates in bad faith. The best protection is choosing the right partner. I nodded. I trust her. Miguel didn't say anything, just made notes. 2 weeks later, the contracts were ready. 14 pages total. Partnership agreement, profit-sharing terms, management structure, financial reporting requirements, dissolution procedures. Miguel walked us through every clause. Carmen signed, I signed. We had it notarized. I paid Miguel 45,000 pesos for his work. Worth every peso, I thought. I was protected now. First month was pure business logistics. Found a small space in Mabolo, not prime real estate, but good foot traffic, near offices and residential buildings. Rent, 35,000 pesos monthly. Signed a 3-year lease. Business registration, permits, licenses, 78,000 pesos. More expensive than expected. Everything in the Philippines requires paperwork, fees, and patience. Equipment came next. Proper espresso machine, 85,000 pesos. Commercial refrigerator, 32,000 pesos. Tables and chairs for 8 tables, 45,000 pesos. Kitchen equipment, 38,000 pesos. Karaoke system, 28,000 pesos. POS system. And laptop, 35,000 pesos. Signage and renovation, 65,000 pesos. Initial inventory, coffee, food supplies, basics, 42,000 pesos. First 3 months rent, deposit plus advance, 105,000 pesos. Total startup, 553,000 pesos, roughly £8,000. Every expense documented, every receipt filed. I maintained a detailed spreadsheet tracking every peso. We named it Carmen's Café and Karaoke. I suggested Carmen and Roberts, but she said her name alone was simpler for marketing. Made sense. I managed the books and finances. Carmen handled everything operational, menu, hiring, scheduling. We brought on 2 staff, a cook at 12,000 pesos monthly and a helper at 10,000 pesos. Carmen drew 25,000 pesos monthly salary, reasonable given she was managing everything. Written into the contract. I rented a 1-bedroom flat nearby, 18,000 pesos monthly, and Carmen moved in with me. Her shared room situation ended when she quit the bar. We were living together, building a business together, planning a future. The cafe opened 6 weeks after I arrived. Soft launch with friends and neighbours went smoothly. People liked the coffee, enjoyed the food. Karaoke in the evenings drew a crowd. First 3 months we barely broke even. 45,000 to 55,000 pesos revenue against 42,000 to 48,000 pesos in expenses. Expected for a new business, it takes time to build a customer base. I worked the cafe some days, learned how to use the espresso machine properly, helped Carmen with service during busy lunches, got to know the regulars, office workers from nearby buildings, students from UC, retirees like me who'd found Cebu home. Carmen and I would close the cafe around 10 p.m, count the day's earnings together, plan tomorrow's specials. Then we'd walk back to our flat, make simple dinner, watch Filipino TV. I barely understood while she explained the jokes. Those were good months, probably the happiest I'd been since Margaret died. I started looking at rings online, thinking about proposing. Maybe on her birthday, 3 months away. That was the dream anyway. Month 4, reality started showing cracks. Revenue wasn't growing as hoped. We'd hit a plateau, 48,000 to 52,000 pesos monthly, but expenses were creeping up. We averaged 48,000 pesos revenue against 52,000 to 55,000 pesos expenses, losing 8,000 to 12,000 pesos monthly. It's normal, Carmen assured me. New businesses lose money the first year. We're building reputation, made sense. I'd read that. We need better marketing, she said. I want to hire a marketing consultant. My cousin Maricel, she does social media management for businesses. She can handle our Facebook, Instagram, run targeted ads. How much? 20,000 pesos monthly. I blinked. That's nearly as much as our cook makes. Marketing is important, Robert. We need professional help. I pulled up the partnership agreement on my laptop. Major expenditures over 50,000 pesos require mutual approval. Hiring her would be 240,000 pesos annually. That requires my agreement. Carmen's face tightened. You're going to block this when we need marketing help? I'm not blocking it. I'm questioning if 20,000 pesos monthly is reasonable for a small cafe's social media. What do you suggest? Maybe 8,000 to 10,000 pesos? Or we could do it ourselves. I don't have time to do social media and run the cafe, and cheap marketing gets cheap results. We compromised. 12,000 pesos monthly for Maricel's services. That should have been my first warning. Within 2 weeks, Maricel was posting daily on our Facebook page. Photos of food, customer testimonials, event announcements. It looked professional, but our foot traffic didn't increase noticeably. Month 5, Carmen said we needed better coffee suppliers. The beans we're using are okay, but I found a supplier who can get us premium Sagrada beans. Better quality, better taste. Customers will notice. How much more expensive? 18,000 pesos every 2 weeks instead of 12,000 pesos. That's 12,000 pesos extra monthly. For a 6,000 peso monthly increase, what's our expected revenue improvement? She looked annoyed. I don't know, Robert. I'm not an accountant. I know good coffee sells better. Trust me on this. Can I meet the supplier? Review their pricing? He's in Sagrada. It's a small operation. My friend's uncle, he doesn't have formal quotes or anything. It's personal connections. That's how things work here. I let it go. 12,000 pesos monthly wasn't enough to invoke the 50,000 pesos approval clause. The coffee did taste slightly better, but revenue stayed flat. Month 6, the espresso machine broke. Needed major repair, 18,000 pesos. Then Carmen hired a new helper, 11,000 pesos instead of 10,000 pesos. Because the first one quit, then she ordered new chairs, 22,000 pesos, because 2 chairs broke and we might as well upgrade all of them for consistency. Each expense made sense individually. None exceeded 50,000 pesos. None required my formal approval per the contract. But they added up. By month 9, I'd put in roughly 820,000 pesos total, about 11,800 pounds. We were still losing 8,000 to 12,000 pesos monthly. I started asking harder questions. Carmen, I've been reviewing the monthly financials. Some things aren't adding up. We were at the flat evening after closing. I had my laptop open with spreadsheets. What things? Maricel's 12,000 pesos monthly marketing fee. We've paid her 60,000 pesos over 5 months, but I don't see measurable results. Our revenue hasn't increased. Our social media followers grew by maybe 200 people. That's 300 pesos per follower. Marketing takes time. And this coffee supplier, we're paying 18,000 pesos every 2 weeks, 36,000 pesos monthly. That's 216,000 pesos over 6 months. But I haven't seen any invoices. No company name, no receipts with tax IDs. How do I know we're actually buying premium beans? Her face hardened. Are you accusing me of stealing? I'm asking for documentation. That's literally in our contract. Financial transparency. I've given you monthly financial statements with vague line items. Coffee supplies, 36,000 pesos. That's not transparency. I need vendor invoices, receipts. This is Philippines, Robert. Small suppliers don't give formal invoices. Everything is personal relationships, cash transactions. If you don't trust me to manage operations, maybe you shouldn't have made me managing partner. I do trust you. But I'm an accountant. I need to see the numbers back up. Fine. I'll get you receipts. She never did. Month 10 shifted everything. Carmen said her mother in Bohol had a medical emergency. She fell. Possible broken hip. I need to go help her, maybe a week or 10 days. Of course. Go. Take care of her. I'll manage the cafe. She left on a Sunday. I ran the cafe with our 2 staff members, the cook and the helper. Wednesday afternoon, I went to the bank to deposit the week's cash. 15,400 pesos. I glanced at the balance. 12,400 pesos. We should have had 80,000 to 100,000 pesos. We'd deposited revenues regularly, and expenses went out via checks or transfers, not cash withdrawals. Can you show me recent transactions? She printed the statement. 3 large cash withdrawals. February 3rd, 45,000 pesos. February 11th, 38,000 pesos. February 19th, 52,000 pesos. Total, 135,000 pesos withdrawn in less than 4 weeks. My chest tightened. When Carmen returned the following Tuesday, I asked about it. Calmly. The withdrawals, 135,000 pesos last month. What were those for? Business expenses. I pay most suppliers in cash. They give better prices. 135,000 pesos in 1 month. That's more than double our revenue. Coffee, food supplies, equipment maintenance. It adds up, Robert. You know that. Can I see the receipts? They're at the flat. I'll show you tonight. That night, she showed me a stack of receipts. 45,000 pesos. Bulk coffee supplies, 38,000 pesos. Kitchen equipment repairs, 52,000 pesos. Food supplies, the amounts matched. But something felt off. The paper quality was inconsistent. Some were photocopies. Dates didn't quite match withdrawal timing. One receipt had a different font than others, supposedly from the same supplier. Why are some photocopies? Suppliers keep originals. They give us copies. Unlikely for cash transactions. But I didn't push it, because I didn't want to believe what I was starting to suspect. Over the next weeks, I paid closer attention. Carmen left for meetings 2 or 3 afternoons weekly. Gone for hours. Meeting with suppliers. Networking with other cafe owners. Handling permit renewals. Always vague. One afternoon, a man came to the cafe asking for Carmen. "Is Maricel here?" he asked. Filipino man, late 40s. "Maricel doesn't work here. She's our social media consultant." He looked confused. "Carmen told me Maricel works here full-time. Managing partner or something." "No, Carmen's the managing partner." "Oh." He looked uncomfortable. "Sorry, I must have misunderstood. After he left, I called the number Carmen had given me for Maricel. Went straight to voicemail, tried again later. No answer. I checked our cafe's Facebook page. Last post, 3 weeks ago. For someone being paid 12,000 pesos monthly, Maricel was doing very little work. 2 weeks later, I did something I probably shouldn't have, for the sake of my peace of mind. I called the phone number on one of the coffee supplier receipts, printed at the bottom of the 45,000 peso receipt. A woman answered. "Hello? Hi, is this Sagada Premium Coffee Beans? Who?" "The coffee supplier. This number was on a receipt." "Sorry, you have wrong number. This is residence." I hung up, sat there staring at the receipt. The coffee supplier didn't exist. Next morning, Monday, I went to the cafe early. Before staff arrived, I went straight to Carmen's desk. 3 drawers. Top drawer, pens, notepads, supplies. Middle drawer, receipts, papers. Bottom drawer, locked. I searched for the key, found it taped under the drawer above, unlocked it. Inside, a folder with receipts and a small spiral-bound notebook. I opened the notebook. First page, Robert, 820,000 pesos. Hans, 340,000 pesos. David, 280,000 pesos. Kenji, 190,000 pesos. 4 names, 4 amounts. Total, 1,630,000 pesos. I flipped through pages. Entries in Carmen's handwriting. February 3rd, withdrew 45,000 pesos. Hans, 15,000 pesos. Mother, 10,000 pesos. Maricel, sister, 10,000 pesos. Personal, 10,000 pesos. February 11th, withdrew 38,000 pesos. David, 12,000 pesos. Brother business, 15,000 pesos. Personal, 11,000 pesos. February 19th, withdrew 52,000 pesos. Kenji, 20,000 pesos. Renovation, brother's house, 20,000 pesos. Personal, 12,000 pesos. I sat there for 20 minutes, reading, trying to understand. Maricel wasn't a social media consultant. She was Carmen's relative. The 12,000 peso monthly marketing fee went straight to family. The coffee supplier didn't exist. The 36,000 peso monthly premium beans were fake receipts. Money went to Carmen. The equipment repairs, the bulk food supplies, the renovation costs, all fake, all funneled to her family or her pocket. And I wasn't the only one. Hans, David, Kenji, 3 other men funding the same scam. She had designed the entire business to bleed money, hired fake consultants, created phantom suppliers, approved endless necessary expenses that never existed, all technically within her rights as managing partner with operational control. My 40% ownership was worthless. I owned 40% of a scam designed to steal from me. I took photos of everything. Then I called Miguel, my lawyer. "I need to see you today. It's urgent." I waited at the cafe until Carmen arrived around 11 a.m. She saw me sitting at a table with the notebook in front of me. "Robert," I slid it across. "Explain this." She picked it up, looked at it, closed her eyes. "It's not what it looks like." "Then tell me what it is." She sat down. "Hans, David and Kenji are friends who've helped me financially. Friends who gave you 810,000 pesos combined. They were generous. While you were building a relationship with me, While I was investing 820,000 pesos, I needed capital from somewhere. The cafe costs more than projected. Stop. Just stop lying. I pulled out my phone, showed her the photos. Maricel is your sister, not a consultant. The coffee supplier doesn't exist. I called the number. The renovation receipts are fake. You created an entire ecosystem of fake expenses to drain money from the business. Her face went cold. I'm the managing partner. I have operational authority. To commit fraud? It's not fraud. I hired who I needed to hire. I paid market rates for services. Your sister doesn't do any social media work. We've had 3 posts in 3 weeks, and your coffee supplier is a fake phone number. Prove it, she said quietly. In court. With your 40% ownership stake that gives you no operational control. Take me to court, Robert. Let's see who wins. I have contracts that give me 60% ownership and full management authority. You approved the partnership structure. You signed it. Every expense I made was within my rights as a managing partner. Good luck proving fraud. My hands were shaking. I trusted you. You wanted to feel useful. I gave you that. You paid for it. That's the transaction. And the others? Hans, David, Kenji? Same transaction? She stood up. I'm done with this conversation. The cafe is legally mine. 60% ownership, my name on all registrations. If you want to fight about it, hire your lawyer. But he'll tell you the same thing I'm telling you. You have no case. She walked out. I sat there alone in the cafe I'd funded. The cafe I thought I owned 40% of. The cafe designed from the beginning to rob me blind. I went straight to Miguel's office, showed him everything. The notebook, the fake receipts, the bank withdrawals, the photos. He reviewed it all carefully. Took notes. When he finished, he leaned back. Robert, I'm sorry, this is exactly what I warned you about, but I have evidence of fraud. You have evidence of questionable business practices, but proving fraud is different. Let me explain what a court would see. You voluntarily entered a 60-40 partnership. You agreed she would be managing partner with operational control. She hired her sister as a consultant. Nepotism isn't illegal, and you can't prove Maricel did zero work. She paid suppliers in cash, common in Philippines, and you can't definitively prove the suppliers are fake just because one phone number was wrong. The withdrawal entries in her private notebook aren't admissible unless she voluntarily provides them, and she likely won't. You'd need Hans, David, and Kenji to come forward and testify to establish a pattern. Even then, each case would be evaluated separately, and litigation would cost you 300,000 to 500,000 pesos and can take up to 3 years. So she gets away with it. She designed it that way. She gave you just enough. A real cafe, real customers, real products, to make fraud nearly impossible to prove. She used the contract to protect herself, not you. I felt numb. The contract was supposed to protect me. Contracts only work when both parties operate in good faith. She operated in bad faith from day one, and she structured everything to be legally defensible. I'm sorry, Robert. This is as close to a perfect scam as I've seen. What should I do? Cut your losses. Walk away. She owns 60%. She's managing partner. The business is registered in her name. You'll never get your money back. The best thing is to stick around. Maybe you'll find more, or just leave and move on. I left his office feeling hollowed out. I'd done everything right. Hired a lawyer, drafted contracts, protected my ownership stake, and it meant nothing. Because Carmen had understood something I didn't. A contract is just paper. It can't protect you from someone who knows how to weaponize it against you. That afternoon, I posted in several expat Facebook groups I was part of, looking for Hans, David, or Kenji, who may know Carmen from Blue Orchid/Mabolo Cafe. Need to speak with you urgently about business matter, but all to no avail. After that, I started there thinking in my head, get out of Cebu, Robert. There's nothing here but bad memories. And honestly, I don't really know why I'm writing this. Maybe it's to save others, or maybe I'm hoping that I can find Hans, David, or even Kenji through this. I know it's a big world, and also not everyone would have the courage to come out, but I just hope. That evening, I went back to Blue Orchid one last time. The manager was at the bar doing inventory. Can I talk to you? He looked up. You're the British guy. You know about that? I don't know about other people's business. I just know she's good at what she does. Does she do this often? Find foreign men. Promise business partnerships. Drain them. He sighed. Carmen's been here 6 years. She's smart, hard-working, and yes, she's good at finding men who want to help her. Help her, you say? When it's obvious she's scamming multiple men simultaneously. Is it a scam if they give willingly? He looked at me. Doesn't that bother you? Not my business. She shows up for her shifts, does her job, brings in customers. What she does with foreigners on her own time, not my concern. I left without another word. My last night in Cebu, I walked around the city one final time, past the café, Carmen's Cafe and karaoke. Lights were on, a few customers inside. I watched through the window. Carmen was behind the counter, smiling, serving someone, looking happy. The cafe I'd funded with 820,000 pesos, the business I'd believed we were building together, still operating, still functioning, just without me. I wondered how long before she found the next investor. Another lonely expat, walking into Blue Orchid looking for connection. How long before she told him about her dream of expanding the cafe, or opening a second location, or starting a small resort, whatever story fit the mark. She was probably already working on someone. Probably had been even before I found the notebook. I walked to Tops, the viewpoint overlooking the city. Cebu spread out below, lights glittering in the darkness. Somewhere down there, Hans had stood in this same spot, believing he was building something real. Kenji too. David. Now, me. How many others? How many men had Carmen cycled through over the years? How many notebooks full of names and amounts? And was it really a scam if the contract said she could do exactly what she did? That's what made it so perfect. So devastating. She hadn't broken any laws, not technically. She'd hired her sister as a consultant. She'd paid suppliers in cash. She'd made operational decisions within her authority as managing partner with 60% ownership. Every single thing she did was defensible in court. She'd just designed the entire business to bleed money from the beginning. Created a machine with one purpose: extract as much as possible from foreign investors while maintaining plausible deniability. And I'd helped her build it, drew up contracts that gave her the authority she needed, structured the partnership to give her operational control. I'd protected myself on paper while handing her every tool she needed to destroy me. That's what made it hurt more than anything. I wasn't naive, I wasn't careless. I'd been an accountant for 35 years. I knew how to protect investments, how to structure partnerships, how to review financial statements. And it meant nothing. Because Carmen understood something I didn't. The smartest scams aren't illegal. They're just barely legal enough to survive in court. She'd weaponized the very contracts I thought would protect me. My savings are down to £133,000. £62,000 gone in 2 years. 820,000 pesos stolen through the business, that's £14,750. But the real cost was everything else. 2 years of rent, flights, legal fees, the SRRV deposit, living expenses while maintaining a relationship with someone systematically robbing me. The business scam was just the documented part. The total cost of being with Carmen was £62,000. The cafe I'll never see again. The relationship that was never real, the future I imagined, all of it gone. I'm flying back to Southampton next week, moving back into the house I should have never left. Back to eating alone, sleeping alone, marking time until whenever. The only difference is now I'm 820,000 pesos poorer, significantly more bitter, and I've learned a lesson I wish I hadn't. No contract can protect you from a person who operates in bad faith. People will ask what happened, why I came back early, where all my money went, or probably lie. Say the business didn't work out. Leave out the part about being systematically robbed by someone who designed a business specifically to rob me. Too humiliating to admit. If you're reading this and you're thinking about investing in a business with someone in Southeast Asia, or anywhere really, please learn from my mistakes. 1. No amount of contracts will protect you from systematic bad faith. Get contracts, yes, but understand their limitations. A contract only works when both parties want it to work. 2. Never enter a partnership where the other person has unilateral operational control. Even with 40% ownership, I had no power. Carmen controlled hiring, suppliers, daily operations. My only recourse was to sue, which would destroy the business and cost more than I'd already lost. 3. If you can't verify expenses independently, don't invest. I couldn't meet the coffee supplier, couldn't verify Maricel's work, couldn't independently audit vendor relationships. Red flags everywhere. I ignored them. 4. Watch for the ecosystem of convenient dependencies. Carmen's sister as consultant, her friend's uncle as supplier, her cousin as contractor, her brother's company for equipment. When everyone involved is connected to your partner, you're not investing in a business. You're funding a family network designed to extract money from you. 5. Small frequent expenses below approval thresholds are a massive red flag. Notice how everything Carmen did was just under 50,000 pesos. That wasn't coincidence. She structured every expense to avoid triggering the approval requirement in our contract. 22,000 pesos here. 38,000 pesos there. 12,000 pesos monthly retainers, all designed to stay invisible. 6. If operational transparency isn't there, walk away immediately. Carmen gave me monthly financial statements, with vague line items and fake receipts. When I asked for detailed invoices, she accused me of not trusting her. That was the moment I should have walked away, before month 4, before 820,000 pesos. 7. Except that some people are just better at this than you. I'm a retired accountant. I thought I was smart enough, careful enough, protected enough. Carmen was smarter. She'd done this before. She knew every loophole, every rationalization, every legal protection. I was playing checkers. She was playing chess. I retired as an accountant after 35 years. I thought I understood business, contracts, risk management. I just lost £62,000 over 2 years to a woman who weaponized legal partnerships against me. The documented business theft was 820,000 pesos, £14,750. But that's not the full picture. Add the rent I paid, the flights back and forth, the lawyer fees, the SRRV deposit, the living expenses. The total cost of this relationship was £62,000. The worst part is I did everything right, and it just didn't matter. In 2 days, I fly back to Southampton, back to the house Margaret and I shared, back to eating dinner alone. The only difference is now I'm 820,000 pesos poorer, and I've learned something I wish I hadn't. The most dangerous scams are the ones that are technically legal. Carmen didn't break the law, she just understood it better than I did. She knew that contracts only protect you from honest mistakes, not from someone who knows how to game the system. She knew that operational control matters more than ownership percentages. She knew that small, frequent thefts below approval thresholds are invisible until it's too late. She knew that love makes people rationalize anything, and she knew that by the time I figured it out, I'd be too deep, too emotionally invested, and too legally powerless to do anything about it. She was right. I keep thinking about something Miguel, my lawyer, said during our last meeting. The best protection isn't legal contracts, Robert. It's choosing the right partner. He was right. But how do you choose the right partner when the wrong one is smart enough to look exactly like the right one for 2 years? Carmen didn't slip up. She didn't make mistakes. She executed her plan perfectly from the first night she sat with me at Blue Orchid. Every conversation was calibrated. Every vulnerability she showed me was designed to build trust. Every business decision that made sense was actually designed to bleed money. And I fell for all of it. Not because I was stupid, I don't think so, but because I was lonely. Because I wanted to believe. Because I wanted to feel alive again after Margaret died. Carmen gave me that feeling. For 2 years, I felt purposeful, felt needed, felt like I was building something meaningful. That feeling cost me £62,000 and taught me the most expensive lesson of my life. Some people are professional predators. They don't look like predators. They look like everything you've been searching for. I'm still rooting for the café, honestly. After all, I still own 40% of it.